As the years pass and your hair turns silver, the urge to confess grows louder. You want to be understood. You want to tell your truth. But hear this clearly. Not every truth brings peace. Some truths are daggers disguised as honesty. Some confessions don't heal, they haunt. In this message, I will share the 5 secrets that wise parents must never speak aloud, not because they are lies, but because real love protects, even with silence. If you are aging, if you are a parent, this wisdom could save your family. Watch closely. To be a parent is not just to give life. It is to give meaning. And as the years pass, your role does not fade, it deepens. Your children, no matter how old, still look to you as a lighthouse in the storm. Your silence carries weight, your words even more. And so I urge you, guard your tongue as you would a blade. For in one careless moment you may cut where you intended to comfort. There are truths, yes, that must be buried, not out of shame, but out of love. Not out of fear, but out of protection. There are 5 such truths, 5 secrets that you must never share with your children. Not because they are false, but because the power of truth is only healing when wielded with grace. Without that grace, even truth can destroy. The first secret: never tell your children you regret having them. In moments of fatigue or sorrow, in times when life did not turn out the way you had hoped, it becomes tempting to trace your steps backward and question your choices. Some parents say it aloud, not with cruelty but with candor. If I hadn't had children, I would have traveled the world. I could have been someone. Others whisper it more gently. You came at the wrong time. But understand this. No matter how carefully you phrase it, the child will not hear reflection. They will hear rejection. Even at 50 years old, a child wants to believe they were a blessing in your life, not a burden. That their existence added meaning, not misery. That they were loved into this world, not merely tolerated. When you say you regret them or even regret the timing, you fracture the very ground they have built their life upon. You cast doubt on their worth. And no apology, no, I didn't mean it that way, can undo that break. So if that thought ever rises in your mind, let it pass like a shadow. Do not speak it, bury it, for some truths only serve to wound. The second secret: never confess the full depth of your marital betrayals. In your youth, you may have made mistakes. Perhaps you strayed. Perhaps you lived 2 lives for a time, one for the world and one behind closed doors. And now, older, seeking redemption, you consider telling your children the whole story. But I warn you, this is not the path to healing. It is the path to harm. Your child is not your confessor. They are not your priest. It is not their place to absolve you. By revealing your betrayals, you place them in an impossible position, caught between the image of their mother and father and the secret they were never meant to bear. You force them to question their childhood. Were our family dinners fake? Were our vacations just a mask? You do not cleanse your past by staining their memories. If you have made peace with your spouse, with your God, then let that be your closure. Seek forgiveness in solitude, but do not turn your child into your redemption. That is not their burden. Let the silence speak. Not to hide your shame, but to preserve their peace. The third secret: never reveal that someone else was your true love. There is a temptation in old age to romanticize the past, to speak of the one who got away, the great love before your spouse, the soulmate you never married. You may think you're reminiscing, but what your child hears is far more damaging. You, your mother, your life were all second place. Can you imagine what it does to a soul to learn they were born from compromise, that their family was the result of settling, not passion? Whether true or not, such a confession reshapes the story your child has lived within. It casts doubt on their origin, their very existence. Children, yes, even adult children, construct their identity from the story of their parents' love. When you rewrite that story with regret, you rob them of stability. So let the past remain unspoken, not because it was untrue, but because you choose to honor the life that endured, not the one that escaped. Let your loyalty not only be to memory, but to the people who walked with you through the storms. The fourth secret: never share the darkest corners of your mental suffering unless you've overcome them. There is strength in vulnerability, yes, but there is also great danger in emotional exposure without resolution. If you suffered from depression, addiction, suicidal thoughts. These are profound and powerful parts of your journey, but they must be shared with care, with completeness, with clarity. Do not throw your pain upon your child like a weight to carry. I used to sit in the car and cry before coming in. There were nights I didn't want to live. These words, once spoken, live forever in your child's heart, not as empathy, but as fear, as guilt, as confusion. They begin to wonder, were they the cause? Could they have stopped it? And worst of all, they begin to see you not as a source of strength, but as someone fragile, someone broken. If you speak of your suffering, speak also of your rising, of the strength you cultivated, of the light you eventually found. A story that ends in despair is not a lesson, it is a wound. But a story that ends in triumph, in healing, that is a gift. So ask yourself before you speak, have I truly healed? Can I offer hope, or will I only transfer pain? The fifth secret, never admit to favoring one child over another. This perhaps is the most subtle and the most destructive of all. A comment made in jest, your sister was always the smart one. A sigh, you were always the troublemaker. We think they are harmless reflections, but your child has spent their life looking at themselves through your eyes. And with one phrase, you blur that vision. Favoritism, whether real or imagined, divides. It carves cracks into sibling bonds. It creates lifelong insecurities. It makes one child feel unloved and the other feel pressured to be perfect. And when you admit it openly, you are saying something devastating. My love was not equal. You had to earn it, and you failed. You are a parent. You are meant to be a mirror of unconditional love, not perfection, but presence, consistency, kindness. Every child is different. Every child needs to be seen in their uniqueness, not stacked in a hierarchy. So even if in your secret heart you felt closer to one, never let it be known. Bury it. Let every child believe they were the sun of your sky. So now you ask, what should I do with all that I carry? What do I do with the secrets, the sorrow, the unsaid words? You write, you pray, you speak to someone who can hold it. A friend, a therapist, a sacred tree in the forest if you must. But you do not pass it to your children like a baton in a relay race. You do not ask them to finish the emotional marathon you started. Because parenting does not end when your children turn 18. It enters a higher stage, the stage of legacy, the stage of spiritual discipline. Your final gift to your children is not your honesty. It is your restraint, your quiet strength, the example you set as you age. Not in chaos, but in calm. Not in confession, but in dignity. We live in an age that idolizes sharing. We confuse expression with wisdom. We think if we feel it, we must say it. But wisdom is not noise. Wisdom is silence that has learned when to speak. A sword drawn too soon injures friend and foe alike, and truth, when spoken carelessly, becomes that sword. But silence, when offered with love, becomes a shield. It protects the innocent. It guards the peace. It preserves what must endure. So I ask you, what is the goal of your words? Do you speak to be understood or to be respected? Do you reveal to heal or to release your guilt? Before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, will this truth heal or harm? If it heals, speak with clarity. If it harms, hold it with strength. Let your children remember you not as someone who unraveled at the end, but someone who aged with grace. Let them say, my mother was wise, my father was strong. They never told me everything, but what they gave me was enough. In the temple of life, not every truth must be shouted. Some must be whispered to the stars. Some must be surrendered in silence. And in that silence, you will find not weakness, but power. A sacred, noble power. The power of restraint. The power of love in its highest form. Protection. Be that example. Let your final lesson be one of poise, not confession. Let your legacy be peace. And if this message stirred something in your heart, do not only listen, act, reflect, adjust, and share. Not for shame, but for awakening. Because the world does not need more open wounds disguised as wisdom. It needs more elders with eyes of calm and tongues of gold. elders who carry storms quietly, so their children may walk in sunlight. Be one of them. Walk the final miles of your journey, not weighed down by truth but lifted by love. And remember always, true strength is not saying everything that is true. True strength is knowing what not to say.